a life of royal service can be done with dignity, respect, grace, and so many things, as exampled by the Duchess of Kent, who passed away yesterday on September 4th at the age of 92. And then you have the comparison to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who have just completely decimated their whole family in their wake in pursuit of fame and fortune. Meanwhile, the Duchess of Kent merely wanted to leave the royal family to teach music at a public school. Yes, oh yes, there are so many, I think, lessons that Harry and Meghan and any other royal in the future can learn from the Duchess of Kent, because beware, the dynamics of trying to balance a connection to the royal family with a work life is one that many, many, many royals are having to deal with right now, even Princess Madeline of Sweden. And there are ways to do this. Nobody is ever saying someone with a connection to a royal family must work for the family or must work in particular ways for the family. No, no, no. There is a way to be dignified and respectful in a, let's say, post-working royal life. And there are lessons that Harry and Meghan can 100% learn from the Duchess of Kent. So we shall get into this today, but if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany. I do provide compelling royal commentary, so please hit that subscribe button. I would absolutely love to have you back. And as a reminder, we're moving the Crown Report segment to a full episode starting on Tuesday, so we won't go over the other royal news, but I did want to highlight Ana Lucia diamonds here. I have my diamond hoop earrings on, which I love, and my 7-stone eternity band here. Oops, which is kind of stuck behind my crown ring. Yes, I love my crown ring too. But the 7-stone eternity band is just absolutely amazing. So if you're interested in any of their pieces, I'm just wearing all their jewelry today, pretty much. Feel free to check out the link up above and down below and see if there's anything there that interests you. And if you do decide to purchase something, you can save 20% by using the code ROYAL20. So today began with, obviously, some sad news, which is the passing of the Duchess of Kent at the age of 92. She married the Duke of Kent, Prince Edward, back in 1961. And it was rather controversial at the time because Catherine, which is her given name, did not have a title. And it was the first time, and actually, I believe since the Tudor dynasty, somebody mentioned that a non-titled woman married somebody as high in stature in the royal family as the Duke of Kent. And she had a bit of a tough time with her mother-in-law, Princess Marina, who was not a fan of a non-titled woman actually marrying her son. She actually separated them or had them separate for a period of time, sending her son basically to Germany, or having somehow him sent to Germany with his regiment to work over there. Catherine toured the United States and Canada, and the couple met up yet again and decided to pursue their marriage. And there definitely were some rocky points in there. And what's really interesting when you read through her story, as I've read through in the Telegraph and the Times, you'll have to excuse me, I haven't had time yet today to read a full biography on her, although I would love to, is that she found royal life very wonderful in some ways and very difficult as well. And so many royal women can, I think, sympathize with Catherine's experience. And Catherine, again, Duchess of Kent. And what was, I think, truly sad is that she had 3 children and she was pregnant with a 4th, but she had contracted measles. And it was suggested to her that she terminate the pregnancy. And it was something she never really got over. She got pregnant again. That child, unfortunately, was a stillbirth. And so you have to think those impacted her severely, and she struggled a lot with depression and other things as she was trying to navigate some difficult points in her marriage. There's been suggestions that perhaps her and the Duke of Kent would have split at some point. They lived apart for long stretches in their marriage, but she found a sense of joy and peace in her faith. So she actually was the first high-ranking British royal to convert to Catholicism. She did this in 1994, and she grew closer to the Catholic Church, and she always had an immense passion for music. I mean, and her tastes ranged throughout the spectrum, including gangster rap. So she was quite you could say, a progressive member of the family, but she was also well known for being empathetic. You actually can see where she had a little bit of that Diana before Diana. And she very famously comforted one of the Wimbledon players after her loss and encouraged her and everything, allowed her to cry on her shoulder. And so she very much broke down in some ways the tensions, you could say, or the formality of the British monarchy and the people. The Duchess of Kent was very much at the forefront of it. And although she worked for many, many years as a royal and she made many contributions and enjoyed the job in a lot of ways, enjoyed the opportunity to meet people who were ill or sick and was able to, you could say, I almost want to say minister, but really reach out to them in an interesting way. She decided in 2002, with the Queen's approval, to basically step down from royal duties. In fact, what she wanted to do was go and be a music teacher, where she was known, I believe, as just simply Mrs. Kent. She wanted to go by Catherine Kent. She was not interested in people calling her Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Kent or making a big fuss about the man she married and the title she held because of that. She just simply wanted to teach music. And I can't help but think that's pretty extraordinary. And she came to that after a long time, I think, of introspection. She came to it with deference to Her Majesty the Queen, going, I hate to say this, but although I enjoy aspects of what I do with my husband and working for the royal family, I'd rather just take a train every day up to a little school and teach music. And she also even gave piano lessons in a rented studio. So Catherine was, in many respects, I would argue, a true royal rebel who saw all the trappings, enjoyed a lot of the trappings, but at some point decided, you know what, my purpose isn't to be here doing this. I'd rather follow my passion for music and encourage the next generation of young people to find their passion for music as well. And I find that very admirable because, yeah, sometimes the constraints of royal life, a large part, it's just not where you want to go and you want to expand, you want to do something different. And there are ways to do that, especially now as we get more modern, because this happened. I saw something that said in the 96, obviously a lot happened after 2000, after she officially left. But basically, she was working her way out, but doing it with the full knowledge and full transparency and full support of Queen Elizabeth II. Queen Elizabeth II was fine with her deciding to say, you know what? This just isn't for me. I want to do something else. I've paid my dues and it's time to go somewhere else. And I think Queen Elizabeth respected that. I don't think there's ever a point where Queen Elizabeth would not have respected somebody going, this just isn't working for me. Now, obviously, I don't think really Catherine or Camilla have that option. That's why it's so important to make sure they really understand. But any other woman within the family who's, let's say, a married in lower down on the line of succession can say at some point, this just isn't for me. I have paid my dues. I have enjoyed a lot of time. I will continue to support, but I need to find a different path. And that can be done. And then you think about how Harry and Meghan did things when they left the royal family. And Harry should have known that leaving can be done and it can be done well. Instead of asking permission from the Queen, Harry and Meghan gave her the statement, 5 minutes before it went live to the world, basically giving her no out, no opportunity to discuss the situation with them. And in addition to leaving, I would say very disrespectfully, what Harry and Meghan did post royal life is go back and just sling mud at the family constantly, including the Queen, Prince Philip, now King Charles, and Queen Camilla, Catherine and William. All the two of them did. And the only way they've really been able to make money is to sling mud at other people. Whereas the Duchess of Kent would take an anonymous train ride up to the school so that she could teach the pupils and hopefully give her gifts to the next generation. Do you see the distinction between the two women and how they've handled their respective situations? Because I think this is an important discussion to have because so many royals, and this is not just a problem in the British, but in the problem in the other royal families too, because we have the Royal Rebels Netflix documentary coming up with Princess Martha Louise of Norway and her creepy shaman husband, Direct Verrett. And they are flaunting the rules of royalty, using the titles in order to enrich themselves. I think there is an important step that must be had for anybody who leaves the royal family. And this is not what I was planning, but hey, I think we can have lessons here that the Duchess of Kent in her wisdom can teach us. Number one, if you leave your royal title behind, basically. Catherine made the decision to go by Catherine Kent or Mrs. Kent or Lady Catherine, as some would call her. She did not want people to come up to her and go, "Oh my goodness, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Kent, everyone." Whereas Meghan Markle will literally send her own friends a basket that says, "From Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex." The title was not important to her, and Catherine was more than willing to leave it at the door. Herself, she made that decision because, hey, I want to live more anonymously. The problem with Harry and Meghan, so much you could say, is that they've left and decided to live as loudly as humanly possible, drawing as much attention to themselves as humanly possible, constantly referring to themselves as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, rather than just Harry and Meghan Sussex. Now, I sort of railed against the use of Meghan Sussex a couple of months ago, and I'm not quite sure all the royal trappings of the title usages, but what I will point out here is that Meghan wanted for a very brief moment back in March to go by Meghan Sussex, and then she's totally dropped it. And we know it's because she never really wanted to. I mean, a woman who still uses her royal title to send things to her friends is obsessed with the royal title. Whereas Lady Catherine, because I kind of like that name, was like, "No, I don't need people to refer to me that way. I'm just Catherine." Or Kate, I think some people have called her as well. "I'm just that. I am not this Duchess of Kent person. Yes, I have this title, but you don't need to refer to me in that way." And I feel like that is how all royals should operate if they leave the royal family, or they try to really use the name to promote themselves. So we have another example recently, which is Princess Madeline of Sweden. She has a new line of skincare that actually launched this week with Welda, which is a skincare line sort of based out of Switzerland. And Madeline has teamed up with them for a skincare line that can be used by both children and adults. And what's actually really cool about this idea is that young girls will sit there in their moms, bathrooms or whatever, and watch their moms wash their face or what have you. And the chemicals that are often in adult skincare products are too harsh for young skin. So what Madeline did is bridge the gap and say, "Okay, I have this cleanser that you can use as an adult and also use as a child." So if the daughter and the mom want to have like a little spa day in the bathroom in the evenings, why, they have a product that can serve them both and they can both use. And I think that's a really neat idea because skincare is reaching into those younger generations. And if you can sort of bridge the gap and not allow them to put as many harsh chemicals on their face, I think that's actually a really awesome thing to do. But in this project, she goes by Madeline Bernadotte. Now, we all know she's Princess Madeline, but officially, she goes by Madeline Bernadotte in this business venture. And I think that's incredibly important. And speaking of her, the second rule if you leave the royal family, I think, and decide to pursue a more private, let's say, financially independent life, as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle claimed, it's that you do so with the full permission of everyone and with the full understanding of what that will entail. So when it came to Madeline and her endeavor, what she did is that she went to the government, she went to her family, she basically got everybody on the same page, and so that they all agreed that she could pursue this idea without compromising her country or her family. Harry and Meghan, again, took the very selfish route and didn't care, didn't ask anybody's permission, didn't work with anyone, basically made their demands and kicking people on their way out and then getting mad when they didn't get everything they wanted. But Madeline didn't write, and she's gotten even criticism for that. There's an article in Swedish, if there's any Swedish watchers out there, it was in like sort of, it looked like a more professional publication, and it was Madeline and Chris, and they did an exclusive interview, but it does have a paywall. And I'm like, do I really want to pay a Swedish publication that I don't get something from all that much to access it? And sometimes you can't, even with sort of a foreign thing. So if there's any Swedish watchers out there, if you're familiar with the magazine I'm talking about, if you mind sending it to me, that would be awesome. But they hit roadblocks, and I think they actually did everything right, because what are you supposed to do as a royal if you have this idea and you want to pursue it? And Madeline has been largely phased out of royal duties because she lived in New York for a while, she lived in Florida, like, she's the third child, so she understands her roles. It's not like she's not there to support her family, but at the same time, she's like, well, you guys don't have a ton for me to do. Sweden is a pretty small country. So if I could do this, that would be awesome. And she did it the right way, going and making sure everybody was on the same page and nobody was caught off guard, and that everybody was supportive of the idea. Because I doubt at the end of the day, the British monarchy would look at Harry and Meghan's proposal of a tell-all Netflix documentary and a tell-all memoir and go, yeah, that's exactly what we want. Bravo. No. And yes, maybe Harry and Meghan couldn't have done exactly what they wanted, but might they be better off if they had handled things much better? Yes, I think that actually they would have been 1,000% better off than they are now. Part of the Harry and Meghan problem is that they trashed his family on the way out the door, and the public hasn't totally forgiven them for that, and I don't think they ever will. What you could say is the third rule, and of course, we talked about it very briefly, is don't trash your family. Keep certain confidences. And that is exactly what Madeline and the Duchess of Kent have done. The Duchess of Kent, I think, had it largely struggled in a lot of ways in the spotlight. And maybe she didn't have a perfect relationship with everyone, but she wasn't blasting it all over the front pages as she left. She's just like, let me keep my dignity. I just want to go off here and work in the corner. And they're like, yeah, yeah, of course. And then you have Princess Madeline, who also, I think there's some, I would say, family, I don't want to say disruptions because that's not it. Let's say family issues, if you want to put it that way, with them, because there's always been so much talk about how King Carl Gustaf really, really wanted his son to be the crown prince instead of his firstborn daughter, Crown Princess Victoria. He was crown prince for a hot second, and then they changed the laws and the title went to Victoria. And Carl Gustaf is still complaining about it 50 years later. And is like, I mean, the kids weren't born yet, but in his interview for his Golden Jubilee, he still referenced that. So he's still a little miffed about it. And so I think there is a bit of a challenging, you could say, dynamic within the family. But Madeline's not going out ragging on it. She's like, I had this idea for a skincare that'll appeal to children and adults. And so this is what I'm going to do. And I find that, again, very admirable. There is nothing wrong with having an idea and pursuing it, because, again, especially as time goes on, let's say you have a large role and then it's scaled back. What do? You need to figure out something to do. And the true issue with Harry and Meghan is not that they're working. I find this so obnoxious that sometimes people go, well, they just got to earn a living. I actually happened to come across Emily Holmes' Substack recently, and she had a guest author on to talk about how Meghan's series is relatable or is not relatable. I didn't totally get it, but there was this thing here. And again, I find this perception so ridiculous from people who don't really understand. So her name's Danielle Prescott, about the truth in royalty, which is, she says, one of the most pervasive criticisms since the first season with Meghan has been about the fact that there is a show at all. The Sussexes have adamantly requested privacy for themselves and their children, a feat that they were hoping to achieve by moving to the United States 5 years ago. I mean, newsflash, if you move to like the center of Hollywood, which they're not, but they're close enough, in Montecito, and pursue a Hollywood career, yeah, you're not going to give the privacy you want. So again, the disconnect from reality that some people just don't seem to get, I always find rather fascinating. Some find the fact that Meghan has a show to be contradictory to that desire, but something that makes perfect sense to me. I find it both practical and realistic. Most people, yes, even born princes and their wives, need to work. Well, nobody wasn't saying that. I don't have any issue actually with Harry and Meghan working outside the royal family. What I have an issue with, and what has actually killed Harry and Meghan's careers, is the tell all junk. Harry and Meghan have made their careers in Hollywood by ragging on his family. That's the only reason they've made a dime, really, is by removing the curtain, the shroud of secrecy, you could say, or the shroud of, let's say, privacy, privacy of his family. They've exploited it to enrich themselves. That's their issue. That's the true issue. There are ways to make money as a royal post leaving the royal life that does not require you to write spare, do Harry and Meghan, and make all the little digs that the two of them still do at his family. Make court cases out of nothing, pursue ridiculous legal claims that just have no basis in reality. That is their problem. I mean, if you really think about it and you take away Oprah, Netflix, Spotify, whatever, and Spare, of course, and look at Harry and Meghan and think to yourself, what if the two of them, instead of trying to exploit his family for money, instead decide to actually try to pursue their passions and make a career out of it? Oh my gosh, what do you know? They might make some money. That's the difference. That is the key difference between Madeline and the Duchess of Kent and the disaster zone that is Harry and Meghan. Because of what Harry and Meghan have done, I don't think anybody, consumers broadly, will ever fully trust them ever again. They just won't. And the simple reason is Harry and Meghan are the ones who undermined themselves. They're the ones who traded off his family in the worst way possible to make a buck. And nobody, again, is saying they can't make money. But the two nincompoops that they are have yet to prove at all in the slightest that they can make a dime without trying to destroy his family in the process. Everything they've done has been a failure so far, pretty much. Yes, Meghan had a little bit of a bright spot in March and April after the initial launch of her show and her brand, but both are now tanking. Like With Love, Meghan crashed and burned so hard, it's actually difficult to fathom. To go from being on the top 10 list globally, on the top 10 list in many countries the first go around, to not making a top 10 list by any metric is a disaster. The show did not do well. None of their other stuff had done well. The only thing that has done well, period, end of point, exclamation point, whatever, is anytime they rag on his family. And because of that, they have yet to prove by any stretch of the imagination that they have anything to offer the world other than ragging on his family for money. Madeline had a passion for skincare and saw what her daughters wanted, I think, and saw what her daughters were doing and decided to offer a solution to a problem. Those are good entrepreneurs. She saw a solution, offered a problem. Harry and Meghan haven't done that. With Love, Meghan was pointless. The other things they've done have largely been pointless. And so, yeah, it didn't work well. And then the Duchess of Kent. She doesn't have the entrepreneurial spirit, but she had a deep faith. And that faith led her to say, I want to encourage other young people in music. So she translated that passion, that need, into something where she could serve broadly, just at a much smaller level. I think, again, that is admirable. And that is how we should look at royals. And Harry and Meghan have shown exactly what not to do because now they're stuck. They played stupid games. Now they're going to win the stupid prize, which is that when you make your money off hating on your family, well, that's the only way you're going to make money. You haven't proved you have a particular talent. You haven't proved you're particularly skillful at anything. The two of them, all they have are rumors and innuendo about his family, and that's it. And now if rumors are true and they're going to drag their kids into this, now what they're going to do is start to cannibalize each other to create the drama because that's all they've got. That's all they have. They don't have a passion for anything other than making money. I've said this before. If you have a passion for something, like a true passion, I have a passion for royals. I like the jewelry. I like the clothes. I like the history. I like the drama. I like it. That's why I have this channel. That's why I have multiple ideas. Like the ideas are always endless because I have a passion for it. Harry and Meghan's sole passion is money. And when your sole passion is money and you don't really have a particular talent you're cultivating anywhere else, and in my opinion, both of them are exceedingly lazy, yeah, you're going to crash out at some point. Harry and Meghan, if they wanted to achieve real success, which I think they could have, they should have taken the Duchess of Kent's approach. She was the one who gave them the blueprint and they tore it up and lit it on fire. And now they're dealing with the consequences. Whereas the Duchess of Kent is remembered now for being a gracious, wonderful, and lovely royal who, yes, served her country, but then wanted to go serve others in a much smaller capacity. And I say, bravo. I am praying for her family as they go through this time of mourning and grief, and hoping that maybe the lessons that she taught us can be absorbed by future generations of royals, because she's left a legacy that I think many can learn from. So guys, let me know what you think of this video, and let me know if you have had any personal interactions with the Duchess of Kent. I realize that's maybe going to be a bit challenging because she didn't have a huge presence in the royal sphere since 2002, but if you do have any, please let me know. And guys, again, thank you so much for watching, and I shall speak to you again very soon. Bye.